So good day everyone. This is group 4 and our topic is audiolingualism method. So first, let's define what is audiolingualism. So it is the term was coined by Professor Nelson Brooks in 1964, claimed to have transformed language teaching from art to science, which would enable learners to achieve mastery of a language effectively and efficiently. Another definition is that it is a method of foreign language teaching which emphasizes the teaching of listening and speaking before reading and writing. It uses dialogues as the main form of language, presentation, and drills as the main training techniques. So, the main objective of the audiolingualism method is to help learners acquire accurate pronunciation. So, this is the approach developed by linguists at Michigan. Structural approach, oral approach, oral approach. Language was identified with speech and speech was approached through structure. The combination of structural linguistic theory, contrastive analysis, oral procedures, and behavioral psychology led to the audiolingual method. So let's go to the characteristics of structural linguistics. So it is a theory of language proposed by American linguistics in 1950s. It is developed in part as a reaction to traditional grammar. So here are the characteristics of structural. Elements in a language are thought of as being linearly produced in a governed structured way. The language samples can be exhaustively described at any structural level of description, phonetic, phonemic, morphology, and etc. Linguistics level are thought of as systems within systems, that is, as being pyramidal structured.
So here are some methodological practices in audiolingual method. First, foreign language learning is basically a process of mechanical habit formation. Good habits are formed by giving correct responses or right responses rather than making mistakes. So as a teacher, we need to be sure that our pronunciation and utterance are right before we teach it, or teach it to our student to avoid mistake, because language is verbal. It has automatic production and comprehension of utterance. And the second one is language skill are learned more effectively if the items or the word to be learned in the target language are present in spoken form before they are seen in written form. So it is effective if they already or they heard it first before they write that word. So it is effective to be heard first. The second is analogy provides a better foundation of language learning than analysis. Analogy or comparing two things is more effective to learn a foreign language. Like for example, the car and the airplane. Car is a transformation used in the land, and airplane is in the sky. So it is more effective if you use analogy in teaching a foreign language like English. So lastly is the meaning that the words of language for a native speaker can be learned only in linguistic and cultural context and not in isolation. So audiolingualism is a linguistic or structured-based approach to language teaching, and the starting point is a linguistic syllabus which contain the key items of phonology, morphology, and syntax of language arranged accordingly to their presentation or order of presentation. And there's also a language skills, which is taught orderly from listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Before we taught or introduced the reading and writing process to the student, they they learned it first orally before they proceed or learn reading and writing process. The basis of audiolingual classroom practices are the drills and dialogues form. So, dialogues are used for repetition and memorization. Correct pronunciation, rhythm, stress, and intonation are emphasized here. So, after the dialogue are presented, it becomes the focus of various kinds of drills and pattern practices exercises. So now, let's discuss the kinds of drills in audiolingual methods.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is the continuation of the report of Group 4. So, kinds of drill used in audiolingual method. So, the use of drilling pattern practice are the distinctive feature of the audiolingual method. These are the some kinds of drill often used. So, the number one kinds of drill is repetition. The repetition is that this is the student repeat and the utterance aloud as soon as they have heard it. They do this without looking at the printed text. The utterance must be brief enough to retain by the ear. Sound is important as a forming order. So, the example of repetition. This is the 7th month. This is the 7th month. After the student has retained the utterance, he may repeat it again and add a few words. So, this is the example. The teacher, this is the other example. So, the teacher said, I used to know him. The student, I used to know him. So, the teacher, I used to know him a year ago. Student, I used to know him a year ago when we're in the school. So, this is the drill by using the ear without looking at the printed text. So, this is the example. Number 2, inflection. The word inflection and the utterance after in another turn when repeated. So, example, I bought the ticket. I bought the ticket. So, he bought the candy. She bought the candy. So, the word bought is the repeated word. Here's another example. I called the young man. I called the young man. So, the word called is the repeated words. So, this is the example of inflection. Number 3 kinds of drill is replacement. So, replacement is a one word and the utterance is replaced by another. Like for example, he bought this house cheap. So, he bought it cheap. So, instead of this, you can use it to make the sentence shorter and easy to say the utterance. And here's another example. Helen left earlier. You can replace Helen and insert the word she to make the sentence shorter and easy to say the utterance again. So, that is the example of replacement. So, the fourth drill is restatement. Restatement is the student replaces a utterance and address it to someone else according to instruction. So, let us the example. So, now teacher said, tell him to wait for you. You can restate by saying this, wait for me. Number and here is another example. Ask her, how old are you? You can easy to say, how old are you? And ask Jackie, when he began. Jackie, when did you begin? So that is the the example of restatement.
So there's a kind of drills used in audiolingual method. So the completion. So the students hears and utterance that is complete except for one word. So then repeat the utterance and completed form. So examples. I'll go my way and you go. So the completed form is I'll go my way and you go yours. So another is we all have own trouble. So the complete form is we all have our own troubles. So another is the expansion. So the expansion is when a word is added, it takes a certain place in the sequence. So example, I know him. Hardly, the sequence is I hardly know him. So another is I know him hardly, well, I know him well. So another is the transposition. So it is a change in word order is necessary when a word is added. Examples, I'm hungry. So the words added is so am I. Another is I never do it again. So the word is added is neither will I. So last is the construction. So this is a single word. It stands for a phrase or clause. So example is put your hands on the table. Put your hands there. They believe that the earth is flat. So the last is they believe it.
Transformation. A sentence is transformed by being made negative or interrogative or through changes in tense, mode, voice, aspect, or modality. Examples. He knows my address. He doesn't know my address. Does he know my address? He used to know my address. If he had known my address. So in this drill, the teacher gave students a certain kind of sentence pattern. Students are asked to transform the sentence into a negative sentence. Example, they must be honest. This is important. It is important that they be honest. I know that man. He is looking for you. I know the man who is looking for you. The students are required to integrate, to separate into one. Each student are integrate, to separate into one. Rejoinder. The student make an appreciate rejoinder to a given utterance. He is told in advance to respond in one of the following ways. Example, thank you. You're welcome. May I take one? Certainly. Each student is required to make a suitable rejoinder to a given utterance to give an appropriate responses. Restoration. The student is given a sequence of words that have been called from sentence but still bear its basic meaning. He uses these words with a minimum of changes and additions to restore the sentence to its original form. Examples. Student waiting bus. The students are waiting for bus. Boys build tree. The boys builds house in the tree. The AUDIO+LINGUAL method expects students to overlay the language, to communicate by the use of several drills and activities. The main goal of the teacher is in audiolingual method is to make students learn to use the language automatically.